Time is ticking for lawmakers to get the job done in Austin as the current legislative session is winding down toward the end of this month. We have Scott Braddock joining us today for our KSAT Q&A, editor of the Quorum Report. Scott, always good to see you. Big issue we want to start talking about here. First off, property taxes. We knew this was one of the governor's priorities going into this session. Where are lawmakers on that topic?
You know, Myra, I have heard from some very conservative Republicans in just the last 15 minutes who were talking about this. They said that it would be nice if the governor was acting right now like property taxes was one of his big issues. Instead, he's out on the campaign trail for school vouchers. And this is the way one Republican put it to me. They said it would be cool if he would act like he was the governor right now, get back to the Capitol and tell the House and Senate what he would like them to do about property taxes. As you know, we've talked about here, the lieutenant governor wants to do one thing, which is increasing the homestead exemption. That's the central piece of his plan. And then the Speaker of the House wants to go with lowering appraisal caps to 5%. I was told within the last 48 hours that some of the Republican senators who serve under Patrick in the Texas Senate have started to talk amongst themselves about the need to negotiate with the House because we are running out of time in this legislative session. I'll tell you that the most popular thing at quorumreport.com right now is right on the homepage. We have the countdown for exactly how long it is until the session is over. It's always the most popular thing right now at this part of the session. Not that we're keeping count, but we are. 26 days, 5 hours, 26 minutes, and 43 seconds as I'm talking to you for them to get all this worked out. And there's a reason that there are 3 big leaders in the state. Reason that there are an odd number of leaders. When 2 of them don't agree, the other one has to step in and sort of referee, and the governor's not doing that.
Do you get a feel for whether that's going to happen? Because when you talk about just the end of the session, there's also deadlines coming up for when things need to be at certain points in the process, correct?
Yeah, so the things that we're talking about, these big priorities, they've already cleared those hurdles. So for example, for the property tax bills, the House and Senate have both passed versions of that. Coming up next week, there are absolutely hard deadlines for when bills have to have reached certain thresholds to be able to have any chance of becoming Texas law. In fact, one of the really hard deadlines on that is coming up next Thursday. And so that's one of those nights. It's one of the more dramatic evenings in the Texas House of Representatives because it's a calendar date by which certain things have to pass. The House will work all the way until midnight trying to pass as many bills as possible. And actually, this week, they are working a 6-day work week, which they haven't done all session so far. Sometimes during sessions, they'll do a couple of weeks like that. I think this time around, this will be the only week that they do it. So they're going to work all the way to Saturday trying to pass as many things as possible. And some of that is under pressure from Lieutenant Governor Patrick, who had called out the Texas House last week in a tweet where he said that, they weren't producing enough bills. They're not getting enough work done. And then, of course, after he said that, then the House had to adjourn early anyway and leave some of their work for Monday because of a bad storm that moved through Central Texas.
It seems to be a habit of the lieutenant governor criticizing what's happening on the House side of things.
Yes, that's right.
So you talked about the governor talking about school choice and vouchers. Is that one of the things that needs to be figured out before this deadline coming next Thursday, or are they past that? And do you think it looks like any action is going to be taken on school choice and vouchers?
Well, great question, because the House has not taken action on school vouchers other than to, during the budget debate, ban tax dollars from going to school vouchers. It was nearly supermajority opposition still to school vouchers in this state, with rural Republicans and Democrats joining together to really deliver a defeat for the governor on that. In fact, there are some observers of the process who say that it's maybe pointless for the governor to still be talking about this during the regular session, as I alluded to earlier, because it doesn't look like they can get there unless there's legislative overtime. And I'll tell you, that vote against vouchers earlier in the session, it was so decisive. Again, you had almost 100 votes that would have been against school vouchers if you're looking at that amendment as a test vote for it. I'm not sure how the governor could get there this year. I think it would be a better use of his time to be back at the Capitol trying to convince these folks what they ought to do on some of his other priorities, like taxes in particular.
We're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the shooting at Robb Elementary in Uvalde. We know that bills have been proposed to make changes in the wake of that. Families of the victims have been pushing for change day in and day out since that happened. Any movement on any of the proposals in the aftermath of that shooting?
The only proposals that are moving forward have to do with increased school security, including providing funding for arming teachers and some other things like that. More guns, it seems to be the answer from the Republican leadership. The things that the families have been pushing for, in particular, the legislation that would raise the age for the legal purchase of certain firearms, that's not going anywhere. And I've been saying this every chance I get. The two things can be true at the same time. One, if these families have been absolutely jerked around here at the Texas Capitol by the legislative process, that when they came to testify in favor of that legislation to raise the age, that some of them had to wait as long as 13 hours at the Capitol before they got to give their testimony to lawmakers. One mother who lost her daughter in Uvalde said, "What did you think, that we would go home? We didn't go home when we were waiting for our kids to be confirmed dead." So it was very moving to listen to those families. So yes, it's a farce. It's not happening. That's the first true thing. The second true thing is that their voices do matter. And I do know a lot of folks here at the Capitol, including a lot of Republicans, who are glad that those folks were here to tell their stories. And I'll give the Speaker of the House some credit on this. He did say that even though he didn't believe there were the votes in the House to pass anything like what the Uvalde families want, he still wanted to have those hard conversations. He said that as the legislative session was opening, and that has happened. But as far as the legislation itself, it's not going anywhere.
Won't even be debated on the floor of the House or the Senate, correct?
No, that's absolutely right.
All right, I want to talk to something that's sort of legislature related, and that's Roland Gutierrez has long been rumored as he was going to take on U.S. Senator Ted Cruz coming up here. Now Colin Allred, a House representative from the Houston area, has said he is going to run. Does that change Gutierrez's mind, or do you think Roland Gutierrez is going to run against Ted Cruz?
I'm not making fun of you, Steve. Colin Allred is from Dallas.
Sorry, from the Dallas area.
Well,
Sorry.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm pointing that out because nobody knows who the Congress members are from other cities, right? I mean, if you're in Houston, you don't know who Colin Allred is. If you're in Houston or San Antonio,
I know who Roland Gutierrez is, though. That's for sure.
Right. Well, in Dallas, they wouldn't know who Joaquin Castro is, right? Or they wouldn't have as much of an idea. So look, I think it's interesting that you have somebody who is a member of Congress who's taken a look at a U.S. Senate run, has announced that as recently as the last couple of days. But as you said, Gutierrez has been, in the news for the Uvalde coverage for a year. He's the senator who represents that area. He's from San Antonio. But his district includes Uvalde, and he's been standing up for those families. And he's been on national broadcasts, for the last year talking about that. So in some ways, I think he in Texas might have better name ID than Congressman Allred. Here's the real problem for either one of them. I can't see how it's possible that Allred or Gutierrez ends up getting much national money for a race for the U.S. Senate in this next cycle. Because at this point, it looks like the Democrats are going to need their national money in other states to try to either win other U.S. Senate seats or keep some of the ones that they have. So it's really going to be a question of resources. I will say this. If Allred and Gutierrez get into it in a primary, I'll have a lot of fun covering that.
There's a countdown on the quorum report for when the session's going to end. Our producer's giving us one for this very segment. But before we go, if somebody's watching a piece of legislation to see whether lawmakers take action on it, when is the drop dead date to decide whether it goes forward or nothing's going to happen?
The drop dead date, there's a couple of them. The 8th, which is coming up real quick, is when bills need to come out of a committee in the House. And if they don't, there's almost no chance they're going to be a law in this state. And then the next deadline after that would be next Thursday. That's the deadline I was talking about, where the House is going to work all the way to midnight to try to pass as many bills as they can off the floor. If a bill doesn't make it by then, there's almost no chance that it can pass. But I will say this. There is an amendment process where certain things can be tagged onto other bills as vehicles. So nothing's really dead till sine die. So keep watching that countdown.
Scott Braddock, he's the editor with the Quorum Report. You can find him at quorumreport.com. Scott, always appreciate your time.
Thank you. I'll talk soon.
We'll be right back.
Got some breaking news now. A domestic violence situation ended when a suspect was apparently shot by a San Antonio police officer. It happened sometime after 5 this afternoon in the 6600 block of Fairdale Drive. That's on the northeast side.
Yeah, not too far from I-35 in Redmond. According to San Antonio Police Chief William McManus, the suspect was with 3 other women. Each woman told police they were assaulted by this suspect.
As soon as police arrived on the scene, the suspect ran away, led police on a foot chase. One of the women came out and tried to stop the suspect. He was having an argument with his mother when he held her up at gunpoint. Officers then tried keeping him calm while one snuck up behind the suspect and shot him in the thigh.
The woman was unharmed, and that suspect was taken to a hospital for his injuries. The victims involved here are the suspect's mother, sister, and girlfriend. A lot of questions yet to be answered here. We're going to gather those details. We'll keep you updated with new information, of course, right here if we get some, as well as KSAT12 and on the Night Beat.
Got you covered on air and online. All right, let's take a live look outside right now. And Adam rated this a sunset we need to see tonight.
Yeah, we've got the sunset alert out. Now, there are some thicker clouds moving in from the west that's going to kind of hamper the viewing for some folks. We'll take a closer look at the visible satellite imagery in a minute. 82 right now. By 9 o'clock, we're 77. Tomorrow morning, 67 degrees. Storm chances return tomorrow. We'll time that out in just a bit.
Possibility of another round of storms to talk about. We've seen our share lately, Adam.
Yeah, we have. We've seen quite a few rounds of storms this spring, but that's been good for the drought or lack thereof now in some parts of our area. So let's talk about it all, starting with a look at our radar out there and what we have going on. It's all in Mexico at the moment. That's where the action is, and that's where it's likely to stay. I want to show you some statistics and some numbers here. We'll get to that outlook in a moment. First of all, the percent of normal precipitation over the past 30 days. Look at San Antonio International Airport, 200%. So we've basically had double our average over the past 30 days. That's nice to see, and we've got that surplus going around for a good portion of the metro area and even along the coastal plain. As for the last 30 days compared to average, the deficit, well, there isn't one locally. Poteet, 0.13 inches, you get to Divine about 0.8 inches, but this has been a big improvement with a lack of a deficit for much of our area. Notice no drought, Cuero, Kennedy, even on into parts of Hallettsville and Lavaca County there, but we still have the thick drought, the extreme and exceptional drought, parts of the hill country and just outside of San Antonio. This has been improved a little bit. We've chipped away at it, and we could still chip away at it a little bit more. Notice how the 6 to 10 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center does have us in this green color, which indicates above average precipitation favored with our pattern that we're in, and that's because of the upper level impulses, the instability that's in place. We've got daily storm chances. Tomorrow 40%, Friday through the weekend and into next week 30%. So the isolated activity popping up pretty much daily starting tomorrow, lasting into next week. Okay, we talked about the sunset alert today, and we've got these high clouds moving overhead. They typically give us the very colorful sunsets. However, the clouds are getting a little too thick along the Rio Grande because of these blow-off clouds aloft from those thunderstorms in Mexico, and those clouds are drifting eastward. So some of us will get a good sunset, especially locally and east of town, but you go farther to the west, and unfortunately, you're not going to see as much color there. Anyway, looking at the development today, just like yesterday, a bit in West Texas, New Mexico, and in Mexico itself, big upper level low over California. That, along with the big blue H over Mexico, were wedged in between the two and with their respective circulations. That gives us this funnel of Pacific moisture above us and even upper level energy as well. And these little bursts of upper level energy come and go periodically and randomly, and they can help trigger the showers and storms. So bottom line, this is the trend that we're going to see for the next several days. And it's not a guarantee it's going to make it to San Antonio, but the main trend here is development in Mexico or somewhere along the Rio Grande in the late afternoon, and then into the evening hours, that activity drifting eastward, possibly it even hitting San Antonio. And tomorrow there is the chance of severe storms. Out of a scale of 0 to 5, we're a 2. So some scattered activity expected through most of our area, and not just for us here in South Central Texas, but all the way up Oklahoma, and even stretching into southern Kansas. And it's the time of year where I know the storm chances aren't huge, 30%, so isolated in nature, afternoon and evening, but anything that develops could become strong to severe. Today we topped out at 84. That's 1 degree above average. Right now we're at 82, dew point of 56. Across the state, mostly we're in the 80s. Not overly hot out there yet, that's for sure. Just feeling spring-like, fairly seasonable. Divine, you're 84. Bulverde at 80. Port SA 81 and Gonzales now 82. Tomorrow morning we start the day in the mid-60s. Then by the afternoon, we warm back into the 80s. It'll be about 83 in San Antonio. Notice those storm chances rising after 6 p.m. and especially 8, 9, 10 o'clock is our primary time frame in San Antonio for that 40% chance, with straight line winds and some straight line gusty winds and even some isolated hail being the primary risks.
All right. Thanks, Adam.
The Buzz up next.
In the Buzz today, a dog got herself into quite a predicament in Milford, New Hampshire yesterday. During a walk in the woods, Gracie ran after something and somehow got her head stuck in a hole in a tree.
Yeah, firefighters were called to the scene, decided power tools would be too scary for Gracie. She might hurt herself. So they used hand tools to carefully cut the wood. They were able to free her. Gracie's owners say she is doing just fine. Happy ending there. All right, the newest member of Mexico's canine search and rescue team has arrived all the way from Turkey. Turkey sent this adorable puppy as a thank you gift to the Mexican military for all their help during the search and rescue efforts that followed the devastating earthquake on February 6th.
That pup is really cute. Sadly, one of the Mexican dogs named Proteo had died during the mission in Turkey. And while this little guy, who has no name yet, could never replace that dog, certainly makes a great addition to their team, and a cute one. People will be able to choose between Proteo 2, meaning I protect, Arcadas, meaning friend, or Yardim, meaning help. All right, in Chicago, the Lincoln Park Zoo is removing a tree that's been around longer than the city itself. It says that this bur oak might be 3 centuries old, and that means it's at the end of its natural life.
The zoo says it hopes to use some of the wood for artworks, educational tools, or play areas if it's in good enough condition. The Morton Arboretum plans to grow 36 cuttings from just this one tree. All right, forgetting your password could soon be a thing of the past, at least for your Google accounts. The tech company has started rolling out support for passkeys, an alternative sign-in method for its apps and websites, from Gmail to Drive.
Google says that passkeys are an easier and more secure alternative to the password, as well as, quote, resistant to online attacks like phishing. The company said users could access their various accounts the same way they might unlock their phones, with a fingerprint, face scan, or screen lock pin.
Just Google it.
Something to get used to, right? We'll be right back. Still gathering some more information about that suspect shot by an officer. Look for that at 10. That's all our time here on the news at 6.
See you on the night beat. Take care until then.